approach based on the results that they get. But we keep giving it away so easily, there's no incentive for a man to change. So I would argue we focus on the 80%, let's get our house in order, and we may look up and see there's always going to be that small amount of people who are going to try and, get whatever they can for free. But I think men would definitely step up. I think we should give them more credit.
Mike, 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 Mike. Welcome back to another episode of Live on Broadway Podcast. Greetings and salutations to you all. Welcome back to another episode of Live on Broadway Podcast, where the situations matter more than the relationships. Perspectives shall be respected. Will be respected by everybody. If this is your first time tapping in, don't be easily threatened or angered, because much like all of you, every giant hair first started off as a perfect stranger. We asked that every giant hair tap in with what we doing on Live on Broadway Podcast by hitting that link on top if you on Clubhouse, and showing your social currency by hitting that like button, please, and thank you in advance. Show your social currency by tapping in with Live on Broadway Podcast on Instagram. Show your social currency by tapping in with me, the big homie, Broadway the Giant, @IM_Broadway on Instagram. Tap in with us, tap in. Tonight's going to be a very fruitful conversation. We're looking for solutions, but we're going to get to the solutions. Just follow my lead, Giants. We played a plethora of clips. And before we get to all of that, I got to tap in with you alls. And I'm going to start with Clubhouse. D, greetings and salutations to you, beloved. How you feel? How was your weekend? And what made it whatever it is you're about to say to it? DWI, tap in with me, King. Greetings.
Greeting. What up? My weekend, today's Monday, so yeah, my weekend was great. I did what I do best, and that was whatever I wanted to do.
Hey.
With the people I wanted to do it with.
Yes.
And I was outside moving around, doing the hokey pokey. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And now I'm back in the crib.
Oh, man.
Waiting for the woman with the master plan to come through. So,
I know that's right. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Our women definitely be having the master plan. I ain't going to hold you because mine does. Allison, greetings to you, Queen. How was your weekend? Salutations are appropriate.
Hey, you guys. My weekend was great. Of course, my favorite day is Monday. I'm here with you. But as far as my weekend, I spent it with everybody that I loved. So yeah, it was a vibe.
Hey, listen, man, I don't know why they say Mondays are the worst day of the week, Allie, because whenever I get a chance to get next to the likes of you and every giant that's here with us, I instantaneously feel taller. I feel, you know what I'm saying? Like I love this Monday thing. I don't know about them. You know what it is? They scared of Monday because they just was doing God knows what. You know what?
They don't want to hold themselves accountable.
What up, though, Toya? Tap in with us. How was your weekend, Queen?
My weekend was awesome. I really enjoyed myself since I'm here home in the city, but I'm leaving tomorrow, but it's all good. But I will definitely be back. I enjoy seeing Allie, David, who else? Bougie. I met Bougie, y'all.
Wow. Yeah, Bougie good vibes. Bougie good vibes. Bougie does better for Broadway in person than on Clubhouse. I love Bougie in person. Somebody tell a friend that I said it. Let's tap in with Instagram. Lala, how was your weekend, Queen? Tap in with me. How Lala leave? Collectors, what up, though? She gonna hit the button again. Collectors, how was your weekend, beloved?
What's up, King? You hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. My weekend was cool. Everything took care of some business in the shop. And politics with the peoples and chilled out.
I know that's
queen,
right.
You know? kept everything routine. I got to the business. I ain't really with wasting time nowadays.
That's what I'm talking
You know what I
about.
mean?
That's
I
what
just
I'm
make it look
talking
like I
about.
waste time on Instagram.
Hello. I know that's right. Lala hitting the wrong button. What's up with you, Lala? How was your weekend, Queen? It was that good. You had to get out of here like you Van Moosed on me.
It's my nails. Sorry. So sorry. Yeah, my weekend was good. I spent time with my family.
Yes.
I went down south. So it was a vibe. It was good.
Is it me or I can like almost, not all the time, but a good portion of the time tell when a woman is on vacation because she got her braids in. She ain't trying to be doing too much. She trying to be in the pool, out the beach.
First of all, hold on, pause. It's Gemini season. I just had my birthday. So yeah, I turned up.
Big Gemini energy. Hello. Happy belated birthday, Queen.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm happy to have you here another year. You know, we definitely celebrate you, Lala. You know what I mean? Lala's a friend to the pod. You know, she always taps in. When I met Lala, I had the privilege of meeting Lala in real life in person, and just as dope on these social platforms she's just as dope as that in real life. She gave me the biggest hug ever, and I was like here for it. Shout out to you, La. Oh man, my weekend is often what it's been, and what that is amazing. You know, we did Vanilla Skies event spaces. We did this dope art gallery show, and that was really dope. Shout out to Xavier. He flew in all the way from Cali to have his art exhibit at our podcast. You hear me? At our event space in Jersey City. So shout out to you, Xavier. You know, shout out to everybody that's been tapping in and supporting Vanilla Skies event spaces. Tap in Vanilla Skies JC on social media and VanillaSkiesJC.com. Tap in with us. But outside of that, you know, I enjoy my weekends because I feel like I think and grow rich with my lady, you know what I mean? And we get to have a good vibe. And I feel like there's something else. Oh, yo, let me tell y'all something, right? So my lady a few weeks ago, right? Just real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes, right? My lady went on this like vacation, right? She went on this little vacation, whatever the case may be, which is needed. I'm pro it, you know what I mean? And she went on this like vacation, and when she went on vacation, I thought it was really dope because as I'm sitting here getting ready for the pod, I lean over. Right? And I don't mean today. I just mean previous days, right? She's back now. Thank God my baby's back. Right? But I lean over to throw something in the garbage and something catches my eye. And as I have one of those garbage cans that's like when you wave something over it, it's like it just opens up. Y'all know the automated ones. And I see something through the corner, through my peripheral, and I see it and I'm like, what was that? So then I put my hand back over it and I see there's a Post-it, one of these like Post-its, if you will, right? So I look at the Post-it. It says something like, hope you enjoyed the food. I said, the food? I ain't eat the food. So then that prompted me to go to the refrigerator. I go to the refrigerator. Yo, it's like 7 prefix meals for every day that she's gonna be away. Wasn't that dope? Wasn't that dope? So it was like 7 prefix meals in the refrigerator. So she cooked all this food for me for the days that she's not going to be here. And I was like, yo, that was so freaking awesome. But I thought that's where the plot stopped. But it thinking. So as I'm now getting ready and about to jump in the shower, I'm on the edge of the couch, about to, taking off my shoes. I see like this Post-it like folded and it's like halfway underneath the couch and halfway out. I'm like, yo, y'all women are so like in depth and so into the details. I'm like, what's this? So I opened up the Post-it. You know what it says? You freaking guessed it. It says, baby, I love you. Just thinking about you. Hope you had an amazing day. What? No, God. I wanted to save the posters, but you know, she be throwing stuff away because she don't like clutter, whatever. That's where one of our fake little bonding. We don't like clutter, right? Clutter is like anti this relationship. You know what I mean? And then guess this. So look, it's like mad posters all over the house, and they like just sporadically placed. And I ain't gonna tell y'all everywhere, but another dope one was you know, as sophisticated as I am, I was laying in bed eating sunflower seeds. Now I got this thing on the bed where the mattress goes. I mean, where the remotes go on the side of my dresser, and on the side of our dresser. So I reach for the remote. As I'm reaching for the remote, you know what I'm watching on TV? I'm sorry, Lala, you know what I'm watching on TV? I'm watching Law and Order. You know what the note says? Enjoy your sunflower seeds in Law and Order. I said, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, if you don't get out my window and enjoy your vacation. But shout out to you, baby. I thought it was such a dope thoughtfulness, so much amazing thoughtfulness, the food, the posters. You don't know me, you don't know my life. But thank you, I appreciate you. But I know y'all not here to know about.
You sound mad predictable, yo.
I sound mad predictable.
Change up your routine, man. The fuck?
That's a good woman.
That's hate.
Exactly.
That's hate,
That's
D.
what she's supposed to do.
That's hate, D. That's hate, D. D. If you want 7 meals cooked while you on vacation, while your lady on vacation, just say that thing, because that's hate. I told you I'm pointing out hate. That's hate. I'm predictable. That's hate.
You right.
Live on Broadway podcast. I know y'all not here for all that and whatnot. Y'all here to talk about the meat and potatoes. So we having a conversation tonight. Tonight's gonna be a very passionate one, because I know it's gonna come from different aspects, right? But the aspect that I want you guys to focus on and be fixated on is one of productivity, right? Because we can point out, what up, Terica? I see you, Queen. We could point out, exactly. I thought the same thing, Terica. Shout out to my YouTube viewership. Shout out to Terica. I'm sorry. I'm messed up. I'm disrespectful. Shout out to Lolo. Shout out to everybody that's tapping in with us on YouTube. Hit that link and hit that like button, please and thank you. Dr. Lene got to join us. So what was I saying? Oh, I got it. So this conversation is going to take on many peaks and valleys. But above all else, I want you guys to be on code. You get what I'm saying? And I don't mean on code like what other people mean on code by like how they phrase it. I mean, say what you mean and mean what you say and put your chest in it. You get what I'm saying? Tonight we're having a conversation about Helen Gurley Brown and Sue Ellen Browder. Who are these people? If you aren't familiar with, well, Helen Gurley Brown was the person that ran and controlled the Cosmopolitan magazine. Why is that important? Because the Cosmopolitan magazine was responsible for a lot of things unbeknownst to you. But today we're going to debunk and we're going to peel back the layers and we're going to discover and talk about some things as it pertains to social media is the new Cosmopolitan magazine. And we're going to talk about that, right? And the issue, not the issue, but the interesting part was Cosmopolitan magazine was hiring writers like Sue Ellen Browder, journalists, and had and had like rules of how they wanted their writers to write. And Sue Ellen Browder is blowing everything up. She's saying exactly what it was and meaning what she's saying exactly what she mean. You get what I'm saying? But the clips that I have for you tonight goes a little bit deep into all of that, right? So if you guys may let me, I'm going to play one clip. It's kind of lengthy, but it's not extremely lengthy as what we heard prior. But just to remind, what up, Mr. Diggum? Just to remind the viewership and you guys of some of the conversation that took place, I do want to play a particular clip, and I need you, and I would like you guys to listen respectfully. Live on Broadway podcast. Before we get into the conversation, let's take a listen. Check it out. Whoa. All right, here we go. Live on Broadway podcast.
I'm just going to let you go really quick.
My thought was, so what's the solution, right? Like, men talk about we want to be forward focusing, we want to reach a goal, we want to end the solution, right? And so
if you guys want to see it the way it's meant to be seen, go to YouTube and tap in and check it out. We be here. It's a couple of minutes, so we're gonna be here.
To the proposal earlier, it's the 5 to 10% of men, right? We've all agreed that men should be leading, right? But men have taken a passive seat to allow women to. The platform has switched. Women are being men. We're out here in the streets and we're doing what we were doing before.
Women who are
please lead.
We chose to be, but we chose to do that.
We chose to do what?
So whose fault is it? The men or the person making the choice? We made the choice to sleep around.
Let's be clear though. Where did that come from? Because back in the day when men were leading,
we're in control of sex. They're in control of relationships.
Okay, so but where did that come from? It came from a lack of fathers sitting their daughters down. To her point, she brought up a very good point, and I guarantee you, if this 80% of women had men, what do you mean why?
But why? Because there's incentive structures in place that allow women to take the father out of the home with no consequence. And women chose
historically, absolutely.
And women in the last 100 years, or
absolutely.
since the 60s.
Yeah.
So again, women chose to do that. We didn't have to take those structures up.
Okay, so we kind of were forced to. That's another.
No, we were not, ma'am. No.
We were not forced to. If you weren't going to get a check if your husband was in the house and you had to provide for him and the kids, we absolutely were forced to take the government.
That's a false narrative. That's a false narrative.
Paint me the real one, please.
No. Okay, so I will back it up. So if we go back into this, it is third wave feminism that actually caused this. And we talked about it earlier. I was talking to Pearl about it, about Cosmopolitan magazine and how they actually made money to create in the Black family structure specifically, because this is where the problem really lies in the world, in the U.S. I will say. I don't know how it is in the U.K., but our family structure, they purposely destroyed our family structure because it made them money. We can go into even government welfare, government cheese. There was a surplus of farmers having cows. They needed to make money. Government grants and somebody needed to get this cheese, so to get this milk, get the food that they had a surplus in, or it would go rotten and these farmers would not make money. This is layered upon layers of layers that were systematic. So to say we did not have a choice, we chose greed. We chose a bag over a man. We chose to not have our children. We would rather have a bunch of money than have our children have a father in the home.
I disagree.
No. You have to know the history. This is proven fact.
History. No, men were not able to work and provide for their families. We were forced to take the government check.
That's false.
They couldn't stay in the house if they were there.
That's false.
Then how were they going to feed the children?
False.
And where was
the
it coming
children
from?
Were fed. Women were greedy
because it was coming from the government.
No. Let's
but
get
if the
this
husband
clear.
was home, he wouldn't be employed.
Black women wanted to be like white women in the Cosmopolitan magazine. The woman who started Cosmopolitan magazine, the main editor, she is now a Catholic and she repented from what she did. She said we were teaching women because we wanted all women to feel that we had a gripe with white men. And so, this is public knowledge. You look it up on YouTube.
She talks about it.
Yes, absolutely. They wanted Black women to also be part of their movement in other races because it wasn't enough. The Black woman and the Black man had to stay together in the U.S. because it was the only way for us to overcome. What they did was with Cosmo, they lied. These were women that would say, you know what? This is a single woman moved to New York. She's sleeping with different men. She has her life. She has her own money, her education. She's getting these jobs. These women were promoting promiscuity and living a certain lifestyle when they were all married. They were all lying and making up these people because it was supposed to be a fantasy magazine. But women were taken as gospel and real. And so what happened is Black women saw the white woman as pinnacle, because we're not going into colorism and all that. That's not what this show is about. But we saw the white woman as what to strive for as Black women. We're saying these white women are free. These white women are independent. These white women don't need no man. I don't need mine. He's not doing enough. He's not good enough as a black man, when our entire lives, how we came out of everything we did in the U.S. was through the black man and black woman coming together. So we allowed these women and these corporations who wanted to make money off of our backs, and they knew that we had a insecurity about being dark, about being black, and we wanted to strive to the higher societies because white women were seen as the highest. So we think we want to be like white women, get our education, do this, do that, when those women were lying even to other white women. They were lying to us as black women. So then the government stepped in. There's whole documentaries about this on black history. And I mean, black historians will not refute this. This is what we all know as gospel in our communities. So what you're saying right here is black children, when we were being provided for, but it wasn't enough. We wanted to be like white women, and we had greed in our eyes. We had envy in our eyes. And we're like, I don't need no black man. I can do better. I can do bad all by myself. And so our children, it's a false narrative to say if our children were not eating. Our children were eating. We want it better.
And yeah, because the idea it's a
All right, so let's have this conversation, God damn it. Live on Broadway podcast. How do we begin this? I think the way that we begin this is to pretty much start from the root of it. Cosmopolitan magazine. Social media. I'll get to that. Is Cosmopolitan magazine responsible for the state of the black family? Tap in with me, collectors. Collectors, you buy your mic, beloved? All right, tap in with me, Lala.
I'll pull it up till she finished, Way.
All right, cool.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so at all. We all have free will. We all make our own choices. Now, do I think they propagated a lot of what was going on in our community and accentuated, or tried to marginalize our community? Yes. But do I think they're responsible for it? That's a hard pill to swallow. No, I don't think. I think that our government and the circumstances we were in post certain wars, and different movements are responsible for the circumstances that happened to the disillusion, the breaking up of the black home, the traditional black home, if you will. But I don't think that necessarily media is responsible for it. I just think that they profitized off of it. They monetized off of it. Use our situations as jokes. You can go back to you can go back to vaudeville, and blackface, and how they made fun of the black family, and how Mammy and Al Jolson. You can go back to all of those things. They made fun of us and the things that we had to do. Our ancestors had to do to provide. But I don't think that media is necessarily responsible for the genesis of what has become. But now, just real briefly, but now I think that there is an accountability factor there, because there has been no change. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they're not changing the narrative. They're not, you go back to like when we were kids and we saw the Cosby Show. We saw all these black families on TV. You rarely see that anymore. It is very rare to find. So I think that in certain aspects, they have to let it continue on.
Got it. Thank you for that, Lala. Collectors, before I throw it to Clubhouse, what up, though? How you feel, King? We played a lot There's been a lot that's been said.
Right. We just answering because I like to build, so I'm just answering the cosmopolitan response right now.
Correct.
Yeah, I feel like they are responsible. I don't feel like they're 100% responsible, but I feel like they are, because if cigarettes were not sold in the stores, they would not be responsible for the people who get cancer from smoking cigarettes. So when media, which is the number one tool, this is what we got to stop doing. We got to stop acting like these motherfuckers ever been our friend, and we got to stop acting like they ever loved us. For every black person out here listening,
watch the profanity. I'm with you, though.
Acting like that. The agenda been to break us up. That's why they took us from where we was at. So now I'm gonna go into it. The media is the number one tool they use. If you go into any of these organizations, just like, what is Cosmopolitan? Media. What is Instagram? Media. What is BET? Media. What is Hot 97? Media. What is Tidal? Media. That is the easiest bridge to us. So yes, they are responsible. They're responsible for the part that they did. That's undeniable. And it did do damage to our race. We are responsible for allowing them to program us and follow those false narratives. And they're responsible for putting the false narratives out. I'm gonna let that go, because like I said, this is a big bill and I got a lot to say.
So it's interesting, right? Because I wonder, right? You know how like when it was building and constructing the highways and byways, they had to have fortitude, right? To think so far past the moment to where they wanted the cars and whatnot to go, right? So I use that same analogy to media, the inception of television and even radio, right? And with television and radio, someone had to have the fortitude to be able to predict that, oh, we can get into everyone's homes. We can program these people to do as we say, not as we do. We can tell the world to do X, Y, Z. Meanwhile, we can do X, Y, Z. And they're going to believe it. Why? Because it's on the worldwide radio, web. I'll let you decide. But tap in with me, Clubhouse. I'm going to start. We're going to open up the platform. First off, they mic, go for it. And then we'll respect each other, mic, of course. Tap in with us. I want to start with you, Dupreme. Go for it.
Hey, peace.
Peace.
First of all, excellent job you're doing so far. I like how you laying it out, giving us something to listen to, and then opening up the conversation.
Thank you.
My thesis is based on toxic content and its effect in the digisphere. And so I'm very interested in these type of discussions that we're having. When we look at this magazine, and we're gonna get deep, I'm just opening up. Like we really need to understand like what this magazine, when it came around, how long it's been around, and what their goal was. And it's going to be a very interesting conversation. But by and large, to answer the question of the room, is social media the new Cosmopolitan magazine? I would say it's having the same effect, because social media is social media, right? We got social media, traditional media, print media. We have different types of media. We have different types of networks, right? Television networks and cable shows. So as we begin to unpack this, I'll probably be commenting on the impact of each as we go along. But yeah, this is gonna be very interesting. So thank you for allowing me space in your house.
Man, you know, Dupreme, man, you the chef around here, man. You know, I appreciate you being here. It's not a conversation worth one having if you're not present.
Thank you, and congratulations on Vanilla Sky. I'm so excited for you, bro. And part, whatever we could do to blow up that spot, that's what it is. So I land. Thank you.
Thank you, King. Thank you. Go for it, guys, ladies alike. Cosmopolitan responsible for the plight of the black family in the U.S. That's where we're starting from, but I promise you that's not where we're going to end.
So, as someone that read Cosmopolitan magazine, I am fully aware of the direction that that it's taken through the course of the years. The age group that it focused on was about 18 up until the age of 40. Now, going through the magazines, there are different sections, and if one paid enough attention, and hindsight is indeed 2020, you would see that it was definitely rooted in feminism. It was geared towards women, pay attention to your jobs. You don't need a man. Go ahead and sleep with all these men, random men at that, even married men. Do what you have to do in order to secure the bag. It was not focusing on women getting a family, settling down, not settling, settling down, and being an upstanding woman. It was also very, very, very influential during the Murphy Brown era, where she decided to be a single mother, and she was complimented, and she was upheld to the highest regard because she stood up for herself. Mind you, yes, this was a white woman, and no, I don't think it's relegated to color. However, what I will say is that a lot of Black women, minority women, they did follow that. And hey, if Murphy Brown can do it, guess what? I can too. So therefore, it was okay to manage the household by themselves. It was okay to not need a man, and it was okay to get a job and just do what you could to survive. And Cosmopolitan was the one that put it all into everyone's head that they could do it. They did not promote anything, in my opinion, positivity. They had question and answer columns, and it was about what condom should you use, and is it okay if I sleep with my best friend's boyfriend, and things of that nature. There was nothing positive. It was indeed social media of today. It's totally equivalent, and I definitely believe that it was a foundation for where we are right now in 2023.
Wow. Wow. Well, Allison, right? You said a lot, and thank you for that, Queen. But I need you to tell the people, because I know who Murphy Brown was. I was there for the sitcom. But tell the people who Murphy Brown was.
Murphy Brown was played by Candice Bergen in the late 80s. I believe 1986. She was well documented as a career woman at that decided to, on her own accord, become a single mother. She kind of hid her pregnancy until it decided to come out, and she stood up for herself, fearing that she would lose her job. She was not, and she was revered and was able to be the quote unquote working mother. So that was complimented, and everybody could do it. But what they did not bring forth was the fact that being a working mother and being a single working mother is two different things.
You see, the thing that bothers me here is the propaganda portion of it, right? How the young lady spoke about earlier, I think it was Sue Ellen Browder, right? Where propaganda is an eloquent transaction and an attackful one where it's truth mixed with lies, right? And my thing is, all right, cool. If you're going to promote something, there's a great deal of women out there that's believing the narrative and not looking at the facts, right? Where when we look at all these social media people, right, and we look at them and somebody ping Sean in here, please. Somebody ping Sean in here. We look at social media, we look at the Megans, the Hot Girl Summers. Meg's been in a relationship since I could think about it. We look at the City Girls, Carisha and JT's been in relationships since I could think about it. When we look at the Helen Gurley Brown, she's been married. When we look at these people, this propaganda is the truth mixed with a bit of a lie, right? So when you do your little homework, you see, yeah, they living this amazing life, but they got a significant other, right? When we look at these things and we pull back the layers, you see, so here's the thing. What has happened, what is will always be, right? What is will always be. So history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but media does. And what media does is it creates a circumvention of The same thing repeating over and over and over again. So I peg you guys with this question. Why are women not held accountable? I'll go first. I got you, Lala. What you said?
I was asking, held accountable for what? Why are we not held accountable for what? That's like an open-ended question.
I got you. I'll answer the question first. The reason why women aren't held accountable is because to be held accountable, if they're held accountable, then they can't be profitable. So women aren't held accountable because it's not profitable. I got you, Lala. What I mean by why women aren't held accountable, the way I mean to ask that question, the context behind it is why women aren't held accountable to the standard of being marketed to, right? You guys are easily marketed to because to the point of the clip that I played pre-pod, makeup, shapewear, hair, household items, you name it. They advertise to you guys, right? And not to say that there's anything wrong with advertising to you guys, but I'm saying that you guys are the market. Pac said this. I make music for women because if I make music for men, it's not going to sell well. I make music for women because women are the buying. You guys have the buying product, have the buying power. You guys, in some sense or another, influence us men. We're going to go, what, my lady like it? Oh, I'm going to buy it. I don't care what it is. My lady like it. I want my lady to have it. So I want her to have it so that she's happy, right? So when I ask the question, are women held accountable? I mean, why aren't women held accountable? It's because it's not profitable. If women are held accountable, then it simply means that, well, you shouldn't be buying this said thing right now because you don't have it in your budget to buy the said thing, but you're going to buy it and make it make sense later. There's retail therapy. I don't think that comes by way of us. That comes by way of you guys, right? And we're gonna unpack it, but the question is why aren't women held accountable? My answer is because it's not profitable. To you, Lala, you say what?
Can I tap in?
Go, I'll let them go first.
I don't think women are held accountable because it's not part of their system. Things won't work the way they want it to work if women are held accountable. And then if women are held accountable and the biggest target in a system is us, which means, okay, we're going to hold the women accountable. The women are going to take responsibility. They're going to undo their wrongs and turn those into rights, which is going to do what? That's going to make the black people stronger. It's not beneficial to their system. That's beneficial to our livelihood. That's beneficial to our progression and our productiveness. That's not beneficial to them. So they're not going to do that because it needs to be this pretty picture. You know what I'm saying? Because they weigh to us and they weigh been to us, been through our women. So once they hold them responsible, then the women are going to hold themselves responsible, and then a lot of shit is going to change. And that'll be the same case being said if the men would take responsibility. Once we start taking responsibility, we're going to take change after that. So it's not in a formula. When they write down these plans and they make these corporations and they send out these agendas that are really documented, just like y'all saying, you can go to YouTube and watch this woman talk about what her agenda was, what her motive was, and what her job was. That's not the motive. That's not the agenda. And that's the job. It's not the job because that will set us in the right direction. And they don't want that. The system doesn't want that.
So check this. Shout out to Ali. She just put up something really dope on YouTube. She said if women were held accountable, then they would not have sold millions of issues of Cosmo. She said they were marketed. They were the market sold to. Women were the market sold to. So we are the market influenced. Women were deemed as head of household. Forget what they talking about. It's about actions. I really like that, Allison, right? Allie McBlack on YouTube. I really like that, right? Because you understand and notice what the market is. Forget what they talking about. Yeah, men are the head of household. Yeah, men are the men are the men are the men are the. All that's propaganda because it's fake news. Yeah, men are XYZ, but it's cap. Because if we're marketing and selling to women and women are controlling the market dollar, then women are the head of household. Because forget about who's making the most money. It's about who's making the most decision. It's about who's making the decisions in the household. Baby, I need a new pair of shoes. Baby, I need a little black dress. I'm getting fat, baby. I don't know. I need this XYZ. All right, my baby need it. My baby get it. Tap in with me, La.
This is tricky.
I'm coming to you next, Doc. Give me a second.
Why aren't women held accountable? And you said because it's not profitable. Honestly, I would have to agree. It's really nothing else to say. Because they target us. And not only do they target us for all of these products, and I was reading somebody's comment, it was like, with the emotional or the retail therapy, I can be an emotional shopper. Most Geminis are. It's the truth. It's the truth. And I also like the comment that she made, whoever the head of household is like whoever is making the decisions. It's something that my mom said to me yesterday. And she was like, in a traditional sense, like the man, in a traditional household where there's a man and a woman, the man comes home and he works and, he'll do whatever he needs to do to decompress. And then he'll interact with, his significant other. And then that's pretty much his night. It's just like work, home, or whatever needs to be fixed, you fix, Your job is to protect and provide. But who is actually making the decisions in the home? It's traditionally, it is the wife.
Yes.
So what my mom was saying was like, basically it's just like, yeah, he just handed over the check and then we pay the bills, or, make decisions on the bills, what needs to be paid, what, this, that, and the third. We're making sure, the kids are fed. We're making sure, if there's something that we can't physically fix, that's where y'all supposed to come in, So I think that I really don't have anything to push back on that. It's the truth. I mean, but my only thing about it, and what I was trying to find a way to say, is not only, I feel like it's a double-edged sword with the accountability, because not only is it profitable to market to us, but it's profitable to profit off of us. If that makes sense.
Talk about it.
Because they seek us out to model. We have to influence each other to buy a product. The whole point of becoming an influencer, the whole point of becoming a supermodel, the whole point of becoming an entertainer, a singer, an actress, we are providing a product to the public to sell.
Yeah.
Even as YouTubers, we are providing a product to sell to others. So sometimes I feel as though the accountability has to go both ways. It's also the companies, but it's also the consumer as well, which would be us women in this particular case.
So let's
part.
No, thank you for that, Lala.
Can I ask Lala a question?
Sure.
Please.
Could you hold a devil accountable for doing devilishment? Because you're saying hold a corporation. This is their job. I'm just asking a question.
No, that's we're
this
saying
is their
the same
agenda.
thing. Yeah, no, we're saying the same thing. But you can hold angels accountable for being angels. Like they have a job.
You can't really.
Yes,
because
they can. They have a job. Their job.
It's like patting an angel on the head for doing good. He was bred to do good. The devil was bred to do bad.
And the devil was bred to do bad. That's their job. We're saying
I think y'all saying the same thing.
Different way. Right. We're saying the same thing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying.
So just really quick, right? Just really quick. Shout out to Muse Swims. Muse Swim. She said women are sold dreams based on inflexible emotions, but when women get in a position to be the person marketing, that's where the responsibility comes in. Trey said women, shout out to Muse, right? I love that. She said women would be home all day watching TV shows with ads. Great point of view. Get to them. When suggesting those items saw in ads to their husbands. Great point. Because traditionally, the ladies stay home. We take care of the house, take care of the family, take care of the children. That's not an easy job by a landslide. Hard. You understand me? So the ads around a certain time, around the soap operas, General Hospital, Dynasty, okay, Broadway, don't age yourself. All these different daytime TV shows, Jenny Jones, Ricky Lake, you get what I'm saying? Maury. And we're going to get into the Maury aspect of this all, right? But this is where it's catered to. I want to yield my mic to Doc before I move the conversation along. Doc, talk to me.
Yeah, peace, love, health, and wealth to the room. Thank you for having me on stage.
And thank you for your patience in the dialogue and just being here, Doc. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. And it's so relevant because I mean you're talking about Murphy Brown. I'll be 48 in July, but I was born in 75. But at the beginning, the lady that was the author or the writer for Cosmopolitan, she's talking about when she got pregnant in 69. I'm like, well, that's when my mom got pregnant with my brother. So my mom got pregnant at 15, but by the time 79 rolled around, she had me and was already divorced twice and was a single mom. And I grew up, watching my mom after she did her motherly things, being a single mom, taking care of two boys and trying to do what it do as a secretary. And her rewind or her wind down at the end of the day after, we're all fed and we're all in bed and I'd wake up and I go into her room and she's already in bed, but she's sitting there with her nightlight on reading a Cosmopolitan magazine. And I don't necessarily think that they made my mom be a single mother with two kids by two men in 1984, 80. I mean, I was 9 years old at that point. So a 9-year-old boy, running into the room and I'm seeing my mom reading a Cosmopolitan. I don't think they made my mom become the single mother that she was. I mean, my biological dad was a piece of, I'm just going to not curse on your stage, but the point that I'm trying to get to is that Cosmopolitan is, and a lot of these people are always just trying to figure out who their audience is, who is actually reading us, what are they reading, and how do we placate to that ideology. Now, whether it becomes reciprocal and self prophesying and becoming its own thing, who's to say? I think that the most important thing within the male to female dynamic and the accountability that you were asking with that question before is like the young man even said, I think that the fact that, women aren't held accountable to the point nowadays is because in state judges, they get their retirement from the overflow pool from child support. And if you can take the child away from the father and give it with the mother, and then put them in a place where they can separate. They broke the home up, and now the man is barely making it. I mean, I've had a lot of friends that have committed the ultimate sin over the stress of what life has given them by this system that we've been allowing to indoctrinate our system. We need to stop allowing judges to be able to have their retirement based on child support. That is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard.
Say it. Talk about it.
Well, I mean, sir, I can't because my heart's starting to palpitate thinking about it. So I'm gonna land right there. But thank you for having me on stage, and peace, love, health, and wealth to everybody.
Oh man, Doc, you smoked that. You smoked that. Oh man. So let's talk about Murray. Let's talk about the Murray Show. On Murray, traditionally, what ends up happening is that whole phrase, you are the father, you are not the father, that comes from Murray. Right? What was Murray? Murray was married to Kari Chung, WPX 11 News. Right? But he was testing these women for these, who's the father? Sometimes you are the father. In most cases, the most controversial cases were you are not the father. And the most controversial that tops that was we're going to bring them back and test them 30, 40 times. And when you test these women 30, 40 times and they end up not knowing who the father is 30, 40 times, what ends up happening, right? To previous clips, the women run off, they in disarray. It's just pandemonium. It's going crazy. And what ends up happening is Murray looks to because we all know how it go. Respectfully, ladies, you guys get a certain amount of respect even in the face of adversity. Even in the face of going through certain things and being dead wrong and caught with your hand in a cookie jar, when you guys run to each other, you guys share and tell each other it's going to be okay. That's going to be a no for me, dog. No, it's not going to be okay. Because if you're not held accountable, then what ends up happening is the thing that you wasn't held accountable for, it happens again and again and again. So I want to tap in and talk about Murray for a moment. Should DNA paternity tests be standard practice at birth of a new child? Live on Broadway podcast. Been back a little, been gone for a while, but we back with the jump off. Tap in with us.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
Go ahead,
Hey, whoa. Let's be clear on something. Let's be clear on something. This is not a vindictive moment where we're talking about, all right, no, I'm not sure, get a DNA test. No, we're talking about customary. We're talking about tradition. Should DNA test and paternity test, DNA test, same shit. Should paternity tests rather be mandated by way of the birth of a new child? There ain't no feelings attached. If you know this is the thing prior to, tap in with me. Go for it, King.
Yo, bro, what's going on? What's going on, family? How everybody doing? Yo, I honestly believe because of so many scenarios that had happened through, in recent times dealing with paternity. I think we all saw that case in Detroit where the lady needed like some type of government assistance, and she needed to put somebody down as a father just so she could get the assistance. And she just remembered a guy's name she dealt with back in the days. And then this man is in jail and he's going through all kinds of stuff for child support, even though that they know that that's not his kid. And she told the story in court, and they still got this man standing trial for this whole situation. Because things like this happen in the world at this moment in time, I honestly think that in order for a man to sign sign a birth certificate, a paternity test should be taken upon birth prior to signing it. I'm not just saying this to be, because I never had a paternity test. I didn't need one. I know, my situation is solid, whatever the situation may be. Yeah. And there's a lot of people like that out there that don't, a lot of men that will be against it because we either trust our woman, the loyalty or the respect and everything there is there. But it's too many.
Man,
we
listen,
all
I'm
see social media. We see what's going on.
Forget all that. Forget all that. Forget all that. I respect you. I know XYZ. It was only me. No. No, paternity. It's not it's not a personal thing. 40% of women don't know who the baby father is. What we talking about, Dad? You understand what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
I'm a toe the line. I'm just getting back, so I'm a toe the line
I
first
know,
before I
King.
go at him.
I know. Shout out to my guy, Dad. We are joint. Listen, first and foremost, hold on. Easy on Broadway. Big shout out to Allison on dropping that super chat. I see you, Queen. Thank you, and thank you. I appreciate you, Queen. Oh, man, thank you. Drop that super chat. If you like what we doing on this podcast, go over to YouTube, drop a super chat, show your monetary contributions to the platform. Cass is tapping with me, Queen.
Yeah, I had to jump on before I fly off, but
Listen,
I wanted to
go.
touch on what you said. Definitely, I think that it should be mandated because a lot of these women are kind of tricking men into making them believe that they're the father when they're not, and I don't think it's right. I have brothers, so I already seen certain things in action, so I feel like if the situation was in place, then a lot of things can have been avoided, especially with people on child support and taking advantage of that.
Wake that up. She said it, and she said it with her chest. You see, let's not look at this like your significant other. Let's look at this like your brother, your uncle. Let's not look at this and take this personal and make it about you, right? Respectfully, you guys can only be pregnant by one man at a time. A lot of times, y'all don't, if it don't apply, please let it fly. A lot of times you don't know who the baby father is. But to the point that to that just made, the lady said some random dude name. I'll never forget the name Kareem Thompson. Not because my sibling, but because I went to school with him. If I'm a woman and I remember this random name, then I might use that name. Tap in with me though. I want to get it from some unusual suspects. Go for it, David.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting. I think if they're married, I don't think you want to insult the vow of marriage and make the get that test, the blood test, the paternity test. I don't think that if they're married, they made the commitment to get married. I'm sure there's going to be some percentage where the guys are not the fathers, but I revert to that famous.
So David, I'm gonna let you get the quote off, but do wives not cheat on husbands? Hello?
They do, but it's a different level of commitment. If I done got married to a chick, and it's kind of insulting if I'm married to a chick and we're making her go through all of that. I'm not saying that it's not happening out there, especially in the the Midwest, the hillbillies and all that stuff. I'm
wait, hold on. Shout out to our Midwest following. We got a Midwest following. all I'm saying is what's the quote though? You said you was gearing up for a quote.
Yeah, and like everybody said, I got nephews, I got cousins. Kanye West, the great Kanye West once said, 18 years, and on the 18th birthday, you find out it wasn't his, and and that's on Gold Digger. That's in reference to child support. You paying it all them years, and then you find out it's not yours. So I would say that's a tough one. I would I think if you made the commitment, the vow to get married, it's kind of you're already assuming that they're cheating. Now, if people are single and they're not married, they didn't make that commitment, then I think it should be required. You get that paternity. That way you know for sure. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question for you, David. Go ahead, Ali. Go ahead.
I just want to jump in because I know that you guys are having this conversation. And as a woman, I just wanted to let y'all know that there is a difference between a paternity test and acknowledgement of paternity. And as a man being married to a woman,
What that mean? We slow. Men are slow. We don't know what that mean. What that mean?
Yeah, break that down.
A paternity test is, of course, a DNA sample that is provided to establish that a person is that a man is, of course, the parents of the child. Establishment of paternity could be the baby father, a boyfriend, or whatever. And I brought that up to the point of David making that David made regarding the marriage, and of course he's going to be, the father, or so forth and so on, or women do cheat, or whatever he said. A lot of times the husband is automatically deemed the child's father, and has to pay child support for a child that's not his. And that is the reason why there is paternity test, because you can have establishment, it can be established as that the man is the father of the child, and he is not the father of the child, simply because he is married to her. So by default he is deemed responsible for a child that is not his. You
Yeah,
understand?
That is
can I
exactly the
jump in?
point that I was going to make to him, Ali.
Can I jump
And in
in?
challenging him as a man, like understanding infidelity within a union like marriage, it kind of affects the man a little bit worse in situations, because if that woman is pregnant, regardless to who the father is of that child, you are responsible for that child.
Hello?
But on the other end, it's not the same. Like, it's not the same if the man steps out. And, infidelity is one of the easiest ways for you to, file for divorce in most cases, if you can prove infidelity in the situation. And then it's like, I don't understand you giving the women so much. Like, we do that too much. We coddle them and stuff like that. I got 9 sisters,
Well,
so. But
that's
in
what.
this scenario like this, where you talking about marriage and we talking about this union and we made vows, she broke them, boy. Like, she didn't give a fuck about it, obviously. And then now you're on the hook for 18 years,
Profanity.
like you quoted.
So wait, right? Just be easy on the profanity, guys, right? But I'm coming to you, like I see that hand. So here's the thing, right? And I see you too, Dupreme. The issue is this. You just brought up not 18 years,
Gold digger.
not gold digger. He said something. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Parental versus actual father. That's what she was talking about.
Married versus unmarried.
I forget what he said, but the point of I think where I was going to with that was, if you're in a situation and you have a kid with someone, shouldn't you want to? It's not nothing personal. Why do women take that to be a personal thing? It's not nothing personal, but because the percentage is so high, that was the question. That was the question. He's talking about coddled. That was the question. Are women coddled? Are women being held accountable? No, that's not the way to phrase it. Women being coddled and not held accountable because they are pretty. Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp accused this woman of some foul acts. She said, no, it wasn't me, and this is what he did to me. But when it all played out, and more often than not, when it's the same situation and it's the man against the woman, the man is easily, by large numbers, made into the victim. So my question to you guys are women being coddled? Should women be continuously be coddled, or should they be held accountable for their actions?
Yeah, I think, if I may,
Sure.
I think this, right? I think women should proudly, boldly, and enthusiastically seek to verify or to let their husband know. I mean, it shouldn't be nothing It should be like, man, this is your child. Like, they should run and do everything they can to let that man know. Just it should be a popular thing. That should be the end thing to do. We should see everybody posting pictures. This is my baby daddy. Like we got to make that a trend, because that other thing, I often wonder how I would feel if I were to find out that a child I've been taking care of is not the result of my
Come on
sperm
now.
in this woman. Like that. I mean, and what's sad about it in this country, I think there's maybe one state that has a law against, they call it parental something, again, which would bring a woman to court and find her breaking the law. should she knowingly or improperly notify the man that thinks the child is not his, that's his. Like that should be a law. There should be a law against this. Like this is preposterous, especially in today's this type of culture, women having options and being all over the place. Like miss me with that. Like I want to know that's my seed. Thank goodness I know my daughter is mine. I'm just so freaking happy because I would if it was if this was a different time if I was having kids now, yeah, I want to know. I like.
So on the back of that, Lala says what?
All right, couple things. You were wrong. You can be pregnant by two men at the same time. I'm just gonna put on my Dexter's laboratory hat.
What?
Yes.
Yes,
You can.
you can.
Yeah. I ain't want to call you out on that one, bro. But yeah,
No.
you can have
Tell me.
twins.
But see, this is why I stand on y'all shoulders. So you can have two semens in you and be pregnant, half baby.
They're called the fraternal twins. So fraternal twins can have different fathers.
It's disgusting. Whatever you can have,
Yeah,
that's
the chances
fine. I
are not
understand the
very high,
science,
but it is
but it's
possible. She's right.
disgusting.
She's right. It is possible. Yeah,
Hold on,
No.
one mic.
Okay, so yeah, let me put my scientist hat on. Number two.
Lala is a scientist, guys, if y'all didn't know.
Number two, the state in which Dupree was talking about is South Carolina. South Carolina is the only state in the lower 48 that protects the father. Women cannot get any type of assistance, Medicaid, food stamps, housing, or nothing unless they establish paternity. If they do not establish paternity, that means the biological father of that child, they cannot get state assistance. Look it up. I Googled it. I'm not going to tell you why. And second reason, it had nothing to do with me. I was helping a friend. It had nothing to do with me.
We have legitimization of Georgia.
It had nothing to do with me. And then the third thing was, I wanted to, since I was talking about coddling women, I'm going, for once, now I got time to move the goalposts like I usually do. And, all right, so here's the situation. So let's say there's a man and a woman, and they were married, okay? The man steps out on the wife.
Mm-hmm.
The wife doesn't have tangible proof that the husband did this, right? So they decide to go their separate ways because she's just like, you know what, you're doing too much, I'm gonna go, right? Okay, cool. So they go their separate ways. They finalize their divorce. Now, why am I waking this up? I'm gonna tell you why. Let's say hypothetically, 3 months after the divorce, the now ex-husband comes out and says, oh yeah, by the way, you was right. I was cheating on you and I had a baby while we was married.
I'm confused, Lala.
My point is, y'all always talk about how women should be accountable for their infidelity. Like, you can have a military wife who's at home, her husband is away. Because I remember we were talking about how women should have, or how paternity, biological paternity should be established, right? That's coddling women. So that strips the woman of not being coddled. That's taking accountability. So in the case that I just gave, the example I just gave, there's a woman who says, hey, I know that you did this in the course of our marriage. The man lied, then comes back later and says, oh yeah, you was right, and here's the proof, I got a child. So should that man also be held accountable, or should they coddle the man too?
So wait, hold on. I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
I got you, right? So here's the first thing, right? We're not saying that women shouldn't be coddled if and when it's appropriate. The same thing for men, right? We're not saying that if DNA test determines that a woman, a man cheated on a woman, we're not saying that The issue becomes if it's not about being with multiple people. It's about having sex with somebody and saying this, you are the father and you're not the father. That.
Here's what
So
I'm saying. I'm getting.
hold on,
I'm
let me
tired.
come real fast to your point because I understand what you're saying, what she means accountability. But I think the point that you're missing in there here is now in that scenario, when the woman has the kid on the man is held responsible. Vice versa, the woman has no responsibility. So I get what you're saying, but the only issue is, yeah, he could say it after the fact, but the accountability lies in the fact that he cheated, but she's not held responsible for that child. And I think that's the point
Yes.
that's being made here.
That's not true, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Why isn't that true?
That's not true. Depending. So let's use my example for military, right? If military, you can go to jail for stepping outside of your marriage. That is military law. You are going to Leavenworth.
That's correct.
They don't play that shit. Sorry, they don't play that stuff. There are severe consequences of either side when you are wearing the uniform of any type of United States Armed Service. You are going to jail for breaking your covenant.
That's not wholeheartedly true. Because
yes,
when you,
it is.
I've been through these
Yes,
cases. I was a soldier.
I served.
I did as well.
It's frowned upon. It's frowned upon.
Hold on, guys. I can't hear. Hold on, guys. You got three. Hold on, guys. One mic on Broadway. I have three individuals speaking. This is a podcast. I can't hear all three of you guys at one time. So please, just yield to each other, please. Continue on.
As I was saying, there are severe consequences. Whether it's jail, whatever the consequences are, whether it's jail, whether you get dishonorable discharge, whatever, there are severe consequences to that situation. So
okay,
that's why I'm bringing up that particular situation, because I'm tired of the narrative of men or most of society, not just men, going like this, pointing the finger at the women. Oh, you did this. But then when you have a situation such as military, right, where there are severe consequences to your career, to the disembarkment of your family, and that includes your finances as well, your housing, then are we coddling the man too? Can the man be held accountable too? That's my question.
All right, I'm gonna play something, and I want you to listen clearly, please. Just listen to this clearly. Why isn't it? Oh, there you go. My bad. I got you right now.
Problem first.
Exactly. And I would,
even with this analogy, like that doesn't.
I would argue,
I think that's feelings based.
we might be surprised
This is
that
to you, Lala.
what we want the men to change may actually self-correct if women started acting differently. Men are going to holler. Men are going to try. Men are going to shoot their shot. But if we don't allow someone to have access without being worthy of it, then they'll either go to someone that will allow it. But if the next girl says, you know what, no, these are my standards, they'll go on to the next person. And if the next girl says, these are my standards, men will change their approach based on the results that they get. But we keep giving it away so easily, there's no incentive for a man to change. So I would argue we focus on the 80%, let's get our house in order, and we may look up and see there's always going to be that small amount of people who are going to try and, get whatever they can for free. But I think men would definitely step up. I think we should give them more credit.
So the point of why I play that is because when we're having a conversation about what ends up happening is we don't deal with one thing at a time, right? What we do is instinctively is, well, I'm beefing with my lady about coming home late. She then in turn, instead of dealing with that, she spins it and starts talking about what I'm not doing. No.
Gaslighting.
So right. So what I'm saying is if we deal with one issue at a time, we might be surprised that the other issue will self-correct, as the young lady mentioned, right? But we're not fixated on the self-correction portion of it. We'd much rather point the finger and say what he or she is not doing. My rule of thumb is whoever has the complaint first, that's who needs to be focused on. Forget what I'm doing. If my lady has an issue with me, Broadway the Giant, then I just need to focus on that issue. Don't spin it. Don't deflect. Don't talk about what she did 3 moons ago. Just deal with what her issues is with me. Because when I deflect and spin it, now I'm taking away from how she actually feels, and I'm not dealing with that. Only thing I'm dealing with is, well, I did that because you did that. Huh? What happened? I'm so sorry and confused. So we need to figure out and just deal with one deal at a time. But we don't deal and get to the point of dealing with one issue at a time because we so busy focused on, I did this because, oh, you can't tell me what time to come home because look at the time you come home. Well, why you didn't say something when I came home at an inappropriate hour? Why you ain't say nothing? Because if you ain't say nothing and then you thought it was cool and justified for you to do it, no, it's not cool and justified for you to do it. It's not. But we don't deal with that. We much rather spin it and deal with that. Let's talk about it. I feel like I'm getting feedback.
Robert, Dap, and then myself will speak.
All right, go for it.
I think for me, to be quite honest with you, we are talking about and we, this whole double sperm thing just went to another level, right? Look, listen. This is really simple. This is not rocket science. This is not, oh, well, how are the man? What about the man? Listen, as a woman, you should not want to have two different sperms at the set from two different men that create two different embryos in your body. Like, who are you? Where's your soul at? Where's your character at? Like, that's how you moving out here? Right? To
Wait,
hear
wait.
somebody, well, hold on. To hear somebody come back with anything other than like a truth is the absolute truth. I mean, we can pontificate and bring in other scenarios, but at least have some type of like something in us to say, you know what, that's wrong. That's just wrong. Not like and try to come back with something like, come on, man. Like we can't have honest conversation. It's wrong. It's just not right. It's not right for a woman to bear another man's seed when she's with another man. It's just not right. We're not talking about what men do. We're talking about this particular thing, which is a child. This is something that's going to come through your body, and you've lied about it. And it's not this man's DNA. It's not his blood. He didn't make this child, and we're going to try to justify it or soften it. This is blasphemy. It really is. Alan.
So let me just jump in really quick for medically speaking. So the term is superfecundation twins, right? And that is when a woman has intercourse with two different men in a short period of time while ovulating. It is possible for them to impregnate her separately. That means that two different sperm has impregnated two separate eggs. Now, let's take it back to biology. If I'm not mistaken, sperm lasts about 3 days. And so again, within maybe if a
My
single
sperm lasts 7. Just BTW.
shut up.
Just saying.
So I'm saying all that to say is that if a single woman, and the onus, let's hold the women accountable, right? So if a single woman is going out there and living her best life and having sex, this is indeed a possibility. Can it happen? Does it happen all the time? Is it a normalcy? No, it does not happen to everyone, but it has happened. It does happen, and there have been cases of this. So this is coming from the Journal of American Medical Association. So this is indeed possible. And is it gross? I can't say that. Is it a crazy occurrence? Absolutely. But again, this is a woman that is living her best life, doing what she has to do, and medically speaking, something crazy has happened. So I mean, it is what it is.
So let me give a soft reset real quick. Welcome to Live on Broadway podcast. We're having a dope conversation. I see you, Luna. I see you, Angel. We're having a dope conversation as it pertains to Cosmopolitan magazine and the writers thereof. They were sophisticated enough to create propaganda and make women feel. I played the whole clip. I'm not going to go through it all. I may play a clip or two again, right? But they created this narrative that was a false narrative, right? By way of the writer, Sue Ellen Browder is blowing, is a whistleblower, and she's telling the truth and what was happening with the magazine, right? And in short, what happened was she was a writer for Cosmopolitan. As a writer for Cosmopolitan, the person that owned it, Helen Gurley Brown, ended up telling everybody, she had a rule book. She said, listen, we know this is fake. We're going to create a narrative and put out a narrative out there so that the feminist movement and the sexual revelation and the sexual revolution, they blended the two, but they was mutually exclusive. There was two different things. The feminist movement was women fighting for the opportunity and education in the workforce. The sexual revolution wasn't about abortion. It wasn't about abortion. It was about wanting to do and have things and have the same liberations that men had, as well as being able to have sex with whom they wanted to. It wasn't the same thing. Cosmopolitan blended the world and made it seem as though for those that were those women, white women, respectfully, that were outside having sex and being a part of the workforce, so forth and so on, they wanted black women to join in on that and say, forget the men. You don't need that because you can be out here. What's shorty name from Sex and the City? Allison. I refer to you. What's shorty name? Samantha?
Carrie? Samantha?
Samantha.
Yes, Samantha.
Samantha, the Samanthas of the world, right? Let's just use Samantha as a character, right? You don't need to have a man be sexually liberated and do what you want to do with your vajayjay, right? But what ended up happening is it was all cap. It was fake. It wasn't real. The women that was saying this was married, right? The women that was writing this had significant others, and they was promoting the narrative like Hot Girl Summer, like City Girls. Yeah, they was promoting this narrative, but they all had men, as is the former. They all had men. So we're having a conversation this evening based around the propaganda that was spread by way of Cosmopolitan, and is Cosmopolitan the new social media? Or is social media the new Cosmopolitan? Excuse me.
Well, is it the World Wide Radio or the World Wide Web? I think you made an adequate,
Yes.
assumption. I mean, do we believe everything we read in the newspaper? I mean, how many times do people hear that nowadays? Like you're making a very poignant part, but I think the thing, what the author at the very beginning was talking about is that, the difference between a propaganda being a lie and like a half truth spun into something. And these half truths, the liberation is the truth, but the propaganda has been taking that half a truth and then turning it into like, hey, this is what your version of liberation should look like. And that's what you're referring to, is that coaxing into an ideology that is not beneficial in the long run, but it is a part of consumerism.
Yeah. The worst part to it all, Doc, I'm coming to you right now. The worst part to it all is me. I like to hold everybody. I like to hold us accountable. Who's us? I'll start with men and then I spread out. So the question that I yield to the room is, were we as men? Because what I like to do in my relationship is give you the heads up. Give my lady the game. When we driving, don't be pulling up too close to them cars Because if something happened, we got to be able to swerve and get out of there. Listen, watch those mirrors. Listen, when we doing this, watch this. I give my lady the game. I give her the game. I tell her what to watch out for. In the case of when she's by herself, she knows what to watch out for. It's our jobs as men to protect our significant others. So I give my lady the game. Right? So the question that I yield to you all is, everybody mute up, please. The question I yield to you guys is, did we as men fail our women by way of not giving them the game on, yo, babe, that's fake. But if we did give them the game, would they believe it because it's coming from us? Because sometimes people in relationships don't believe what's coming by way of the closest party, their significant other, because it's their significant other. They much rather take what's being said by way of their friends than their significant other. But we'll get to all that in a moment. The question that I ask you guys is, did we as men fail our significant others by not giving them the game? I yield.
I think this. I think, ultimately, I don't know about every man, but any woman that I'm involved with, it's always a constant me sharing with her ways for her to be safe out here in the world when I'm not around.
Yes.
It's constantly sharing with her, yo, this is how we're going to move in this room. When we walk into a room, she and I have had conversations about certain personalities, certain individuals. We talking about the politics of this, politics of that. Like, I'm schooling her so that, not even schooling her, but I'm sharing with her with the politics. If she's coming in my world, I'm like, okay, this is this, that dude over there, boom, 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 boom. Yo, be careful of this. I'm preparing her so that we will always be in unison, so that nobody can, because with people, if they don't know your woman, right? So let's just say they want to know more about you, they will slickly have conversations with your woman. She's totally unaware of it. And then she's giving them information that you yourself intentionally have kept away from them because you don't like that person like that, right? So when we do introductions, my woman's gonna know based on how I introduce her to somebody, she's gonna be like, oh, this is his man, or nah, I'm not even rocking with that dude like that. He's not rocking with him. All right. And then when the dude try to pick up brains, she gonna do it. The queen gonna protect the king. Lastly, I'll say this on this whole thing with feminism, men and women are different. So I have a problem with this whole notion that just because a man can do it, a woman can do it. Y'all mean to tell me that women see replicating the bad behavior of men, i.e., sleeping with a bunch of women, they replicating that behavior is a form of equality? Nah, I'm holding dude. We can't be doing that either. So this whole notion of this feminine movement has resulted in a disastrous result. Just because men are fooling around and doing things, it will not make a woman feel any better when she does it. She's not going to get any good feeling from it. So I land on that.
Some women don't respect their men. Some women just don't respect their men. So it don't matter if I'm giving you the game and I'm telling you what it is. Forget the tonality, forget all of the above. If you don't respect that man, then you're not gonna listen to what he's saying.
Period.
But I yield to a deeper question, which is, why don't you respect him and you're with him? Go ahead, Doc. I got you, collectors.
My question would be, to what you were saying is, I mean, there are people that respect themselves and respect others, but there are people that don't even respect themselves. And I mean that in the most general way possible. And when you're talking about people that have respect and people that don't have even enough for themselves, I think, we need to not conflate the two. We need to separate
them. I agree.
And also, just to add to that, you know what I'm saying, you also have projection of, said things. There's one thing, if you're a man and you're projecting in this world that you are one way, but I see your human experience every single day, and I'm seeing that what you're projecting is not actually what you are, and oftentimes that's not automatically caught up front, because you can get caught up in a projection and then when you really get close quarters with somebody, you realize this person ain't really putting in that work like that, then you slowly lose respect for that individual. And as you slowly lose respect for that individual, then you start to see certain changes in behaviors in that particular woman. So that's just my observation.
So before I throw it to collectors on Instagram, my question is so once you notice, aren't we responsible and we be held accountable for staying in that said situation? Luna.
Yeah, I mean it's so okay. This is one of those situations from a human experience where we think it's black and white, but it's actually operating in that gray area. Of
Okay.
course, absolutely. Immediately we would want to, but when you've now moved in, you got kids, you got certain things that you've already planned or you have established with that individual, and now it's time to split. You start to want to have communication with that person in the observation of what you saw. And if that person is just hell bent on not changing or not owning or not taking responsibility for certain things, then yeah, you eventually have to find a way to move on from that individual. But again, it's an eventually thing. Not all people are, and we can witness this from, our own personal selves. Not all people are, it's just cut off. Bye. I don't want to talk to you no more ever. No, you go through a process. So, as much as we have these conversations where it seems so black and white and this is what people should be doing, we all know that it doesn't operate like that.
Good point. Good point. I yield to you, collectors. Tap in with me, beloved.
For saying that we let because we building off the Cosmopolitan part, and I'm talking about the media part. We actually look at this stuff and we know that it's entertainment. It's told to us. You know what I'm saying? It's been proven what the agendas are, and what's out for us. Now, when we look at this stuff and you see, okay, now we get to the point to where we're at, and the solution is that we have to stop allowing the narrative to be told to us about who we are, what we should be, how we should operate. And I feel in all aspects of living, we are, as people here in America, we're taken advantage of, Black people, the most. And we allow ourselves the most.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Glory, can I jump in after him?
Hold. Let him work. Let him work. I'll come right after. I'll come to you right after him.
Now that opens door for everything that's going on. That's why I say that, yes, the companies are responsible and social media is responsible for what they're responsible for. And us as a people, we are responsible for what we are responsible for. Now, when I say that, I say this. You can sit here and watch this stuff all you want. Or you can sit there and dig through other stuff and find other information if you want.
Hello.
Because there are successful and there are productive and there are thriving, competitive, top, Black families out here. But instead, we choose to watch this entertainment and let them give us the numbers on this and that. Them give us the numbers on this and that. And we still don't look at it like, okay, so what the numbers is this and that? I'm going to make myself this number. We choose to allow entertainment and allow these media things to set this shit up. And then when we look back at it, you go all around the world and you be like, oh shit, that's only in America.
Tap in with me, Angel.
I just have to agree with collectors. That collectors who just spoke?
Yep.
I really wanted to work off of that because I've been waiting. I have to agree with him wholeheartedly. There's a point where we have to, as a people, take responsibility for how we're portrayed. And I'm going to give you a fine example. We had the doll. I don't know if you're familiar with the doll test. We had a doll test. I think it was, I want to say it was a 60, 70. I don't remember the exact first doll test, where they handed out dolls to the little Black girls and asked them which one was pretty, and they kept picking a white doll, right? Back then we could say, we didn't have representation. There wasn't people, we weren't portrayed in media. They did the test again. Here we are again. They did the test. I don't know exactly when, but maybe say within the last 20 years, they did the test again with the dolls. We got the same result. Whose fault is it this time? I feel like it's our fault. I feel like we have to step up, as collectors said, and be, represent ourselves the way we want to be represented. And that's all.
I would like to do that same test, and you either get a Taylor Swift doll or you get a Beyonce doll. I'd like to actually see how that worked in reality.
It depends on what room you put it.
Wow. Stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Don't move. Don't move. Don't move. Everybody stay still. Everybody stay still. Everybody stay still. Everybody stay still. Let's stay right there. Wake it up, Doc. Continue on that thought. Wake that up, Doc.
That was dope. That was dope.
Wake that up, Doc.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, people are misquoting, like, if you've ever watched that 60s movie where, like, the brown-eyed, blue-eyed kids, and they're like, all you brown-eyed kids are bad, and all you blue-eyed kids are good, and it was some famous female psychology person. I can't remember her name. I used to remember it for a test or something. But the point being is, like, honestly, those, sociological, like the people in the 60s and the 70s, they wore bell bottoms and butterfly collars, and 80s people wore neon, and 90s people wear, Jordans, and now the kids do today. I don't know. I think that they're trying to steal it from the 90s. I think there's a lot of conflation that, like, the modern day 2023 doesn't have its own fashion that I say, oh, that's way different than anything I ever saw in the 90s. So I think there's an identity crisis, and, like, people are just scrambling for their own, like, self-validation.
So I guess
that was a ball. That was a ball. Taylor Swift, Beyonce, because social media plays such a large role, just media. Let's take the social aspect out of it. It's such a large portion of our consumption, right? If it's not TV, it's radio while you're driving. If it's not radio, it's a podcast. If it's not podcast, that's where the ad dollars go. But I'll yield. Continue on, please.
Well, yeah, I think that test that Andrews is speaking about, the other day, we had a male empowerment summit, right? And before the summit began, I had about 9 young boys in the room. And, they ask us questions about girls, this, that, and the third. And we started from a topic of them wanting to know how to approach a girlfriend's dad, right? Because one of my boys, he's diesel. So they was like, yo, I would never want to date your daughter. You look too mean. But we told him, how to approach. Basically, long story short, we told him, if you're serious about a girl, you will have no problem meeting her dad, because you're going to look him in his eye and a man could see what he sees. And you're good. Don't worry about it. And then we got to the topic where I asked them, we were talking about, I said, well, describe the idea of what you consider attractive. And you know what them said? It was 9 of them. And they were from different cultures. Most of them was black. I would consider them all minorities. They describe women as follow, that they like. If they're a serious girlfriend, not somebody they want to smash. They said a certain physical type, and it was crazy. All of them said light skin. All of them said curly hair. All of them said they don't like overweight women. All of them said, which was kind of the good thing I said, all of them said she has to have a head on her shoulder, and all of them said she cannot be sleeping around with a bunch of dudes. I was like, wow. And so now what I'm going to be sharing with you guys, and I'll talk to you in the back, Broadway, I'm going to continue to do these little micro studies and ask young ladies and young men certain things that we discuss as adults, because we're adults, but to hear how these kids are processing the world around them. So it should provide some excellent content for all of us to have these discussions. And so regarding what Angie said earlier, Angel, she's absolutely right. That white doll test, black doll test, we have to remove the celebrity portion of it between the two, but it speaks to the fact that media promotes Caucasian people as a standard of beauty, etc., 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 and it's happening today in 2023. Alain.
Wow.
Well, I want the Beyonce doll.
We get that. We get you got a fetish for yeah, that's funny.
So I put a question. I'm gonna put a poll on YouTube. Tap in with us on YouTube. Shout out to the YouTube viewership. Jump in those comments. Let me see y'all. Let us know that you guys are alive. I'm gonna put a poll up, And that poll is Cosmopolitan magazine responsible for where we are as a people? Tap in with it. I have a question. Did women choose to have a bag over a man? Did women choose to have a bag over having a man? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. If we can't have an honest conversation here on LOBP, then we can't have one in general. Let's go. Welcome to the stage, Bougie.
Bro, I think you need to be a little more detailed, because if you're talking about having a provider, but women prefer a provider over a Debbie who can't, provide for the family.
Thank you for that, David. So I will. Did women choose? Let me reiterate the question before I let you go, Bougie. Did women prefer having their things over having someone that can provide for them and a man in the household?
I think
your service is sweetie. Your service is nervous. It's hard to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Everybody mute up other than Bougie. Everybody mute up other than Bougie, because we're gonna get a feedback. Go for it, Bougie.
So we have to talk about how capitalism went on crack during the 80s and how conspicuous consumption became the thing for the average person. It was a major cultural shift. You look at Gordon Gekko telling people
I'm trying to let you get out the matrix, but your mic is panicking. It's hard to hear you. Your service is nervous, Bougie. We're trying to work through it, but it's hard to hear you, Queen. Yeah, Bougie, I muted your mic. Just come back when you're able to speak, because your service, I don't know where you are with your reception, but it's really bad. Am I the only one that hear Bougie bad?
Yeah, she's in the Matrix.
Yeah,
you say Bougie bad.
Yeah, Bougie, your service.
That's a bad Bougie.
That's a bad Bougie.
She was about to drop a gem as always.
She was. She definitely was. Bag is in career. Yes, plenty has. So here's the thing, right? Before I go, go for it.
Yo, so quick one. I think I had a conversation with a few people on this a while back, because I look at it from a different perspective. Like, he just reiterated the question, like, when you're saying choosing a provider, meaning this social media, this Instagram model type shit now, or the fact that women were, that housewife shit changed in our community a long time ago, meaning in the black community, because, when we were forced out of the jobs and the women had to go to work, or when men was in prison, when women had to work and all that other stuff like that. I think that's a big part of that, the independence, because women had to be. Women had to go out and work and provide for their families when their husbands couldn't. So, and they were the ones who could get the job as the maids and the cleaning ladies and things. And there were certain points in certain areas where those were the only jobs that were available for, people within our community. So when the 90s, the big spike in the 90s came up with the independent woman and everything like that, even growing up, coming up young and seeing women put down men and all of that, I spoke with older people, meaning like the grandmas and the grandpas, and I always asked stories about what it was like in their time. So I understood, like, the concept of how, the evolution of the black woman. So when it comes down to certain things like this and this question right here, I'm kind of on the fence as far as where I lean, because I don't see it the way most men or people see it when it comes to a woman chasing a bag in a certain instance. Because let's be honest, Not talking about the ones who, who don't bring shit to the table. And it's like, you want this, that, and the third. And you had on 5411s when I met you with a Polo Association shirt. Like, you can't be asking certain questions or telling me I need to be providing. We see this every day. That's clown shit. But if a woman says, I need a man of a certain stature, or I need a man that can provide in a certain capacity, not saying that I can't provide for myself, but in the case that I fall, you got me. And in the case that you fall, I got you because I know what I bring to the table. I can respect that, opposed to this new age, independent, can't even say independent no more. These new age women that's looking for the bag and all of that. You have the respectable ones who stand on their own too. But like they say, what is how I go? I'm good on my own, but we better together. However they put that, whatever like that. I think that's more or less why I lean on it. And I look toward those type of women opposed to these Instagram models.
All right, so this is to you. This one is for you, Dad, because we actually had this conversation a second ago. I'm not sure if you was here for it. But this one is for you.
Okay, so we kind of were forced to. That's another.
No, we were not, ma'am. No.
We were not forced to. If you weren't going to get a check if your husband was in the house and you had to provide for him and the kids, we absolutely were forced to take the government.
That's a false narrative. That's a false narrative. First,
paint me the real one, please.
No. Okay, so I will back it up. So if we go back into this, it is third wave feminism that actually caused this, and we talked about it earlier. I was talking to Pearl about it, about Cosmopolitan magazine and how they actually made money to create in the black family structure specifically, because this is where the problem really lies in the world, in the U.S. I will say. I don't know how it is in the U.K., but our family structure, they purposely destroyed our family structure because it made them money. We can go into even government welfare, government cheese. There was a surplus of farmers having cows. They needed to make money. Government grants somebody needed to get this cheese, so to get this milk, get the food that they had a surplus in, or it would go rotten and these farmers would not make money. This is layered upon layers of layers that were systematic. So to say we did not have a choice, we chose greed. We chose a bag over a man. We chose to not have our children. We would rather have a bunch of money than have our children have a father in the home. So we're not saying no. You have to know the history. This is proven fact.
History. No, men were not able to work and provide for their families. We were forced to take the government check.
That's false.
They couldn't stay in the house if they were there.
That's false.
Then how were they going to feed the children?
False.
And where was
the children were fed? Women were greedy
because it was coming from the government.
No. Let's
but
get
if the
this
husband
clear.
was home, he wouldn't be employed.
Black women wanted to be like white women in the Cosmopolitan magazine. The woman who started Cosmopolitan magazine, the main editor, she is now a Catholic, and she repented from what she did. She said we were teaching women because we wanted all women to feel that we had a gripe with white men. And so this is public knowledge. You look it up on YouTube.
She talks about it.
Yes, absolutely. They wanted black women to also be part of their movement in other races because it wasn't enough. The black woman and the black man had to stay together in the U.S. because it was the only way for us to overcome. What they did was with Cosmo, they lied. These were women that would say, you know what, this is a single woman, moved to New York. She's sleeping with different men. She has her life. She has her own money, her education. She's getting these jobs. These women were promoting promiscuity and living a certain lifestyle when they were all married. They were all lying and making up these people because it was supposed to be a fantasy magazine. But women were taken as gospel and real. And so what happened is black women saw the white woman as pinnacle, because we're not going into colorism and all that. That's not what this show is about. But we saw the white woman as what to strive for as black women. We're saying these white women are free. These white women are independent. These white women don't need no man. I don't need mine. He's not doing enough. He's not good enough as a black man, when our entire lives, how we came out of everything we did in the U.S. was through the black man and black woman coming together. So we allowed these women and these corporations who wanted to make money off of our backs, and they knew that we had a insecurity about being dark, about being black, and we wanted to strive to the higher societies because white women were seen as the highest. So we think we want to be like white women, get our education, do this, do that. when those women were lying even to other white women. They were lying to us as black women. So then the government stepped in. There's whole documentaries about this on Black history. And I mean, black historians will not refute this. This is what
That's
we
a
all
fact.
know as gospel in our communities. So what you're saying right here is black children, when we were being provided for, but it wasn't enough. We wanted to be like white women, and we had greed in our eyes. We had envy in our eyes. And we're like, I don't need no black man. I can do better. I can do bad all by myself. And so our children, it's a false narrative. Our children were not eating. Our children were eating. We wanted better.
And because the
So
idea.
we're gonna yield on that. We're gonna step into final thoughts. Oh man, such a hold on. And it's not, because it's a fact. And if you played and if you was here from the beginning, you would have heard the whole delineation of how we got to that point. Right? Just hold on, please. Final thoughts. I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna share the mic with you guys, and I want you guys to leave your final thoughts on the conversation. There was a lot that was played prior to the podcast, and what ends up happening is we don't have all the information, and we speak on the information that we do have, right? And without having all the information, we give a point of view that's not wholehearted. And I'm here for the other side to it, right? Because we all have our own research that we have, and certain truths that we have, and certain things that we live on, certain guises that we live under, right? But what I pose to you guys is Cosmopolitan the new social media? Or is social media the new Cosmopolitan? Unfortunately, no matter how we word it, it seems to be the same bottom line. So were women hoodwinked and bamboozled to believe a false narrative? Final thoughts. I'll go to you first, collectors. Tap in with me, King.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree how the sister broke it down just now. You couldn't say it no better. It's not everybody, and that's not what the sister said in that video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's where a lot of sisters get offended at and start defending it and saying, nah. No, some of these sisters would, you know what I'm saying, and did prefer and do prefer the bag over, you know, other things. That's what they put in first. Where that goes back to a lot of different things, you know. That's a deeper bill, but I do agree with that, you know. And I heard somebody say something the other day that these women take welfare, and then in return for welfare, your boy goes to jail. They own you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're taking welfare, you're taking the lease instead of putting yourself in a better place. You're going to accept what the government's going to give you, which is going to trick you into taking the less. And then in exchange, that's the things that are happening because of this system is really just, you know, is messed up. It's really messed up. So yeah, I agree with the sister, and I shout out to the sisters who ain't. But yeah.
I mean, and I appreciate
that. And that's
that.
on both sides too, Wade. Like you said, you always like to see it from both sides. You got brothers out here that's doing that too.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
Instead
a fact.
Of niggas know, like, all right, let me leave that alone and let me do this because I know in my mind that I got the knowledge to know that this is going to be more prosperous than this. And like, nah, I'd rather take the bag instead of, you know what I'm saying?
The significant other and allowing my child to have a mother in their life, right? The interesting thing to that is, collectors, is that, damn it, I don't have a point. You said something. I guess what I wanted to say was something along the lines of, I think that, oh, that's what it was. We all have an aunt and uncle, not all, but hopefully not. I know I certainly have, that didn't want their significant other in the house because of welfare situations. Oh, they're coming to do a visit. You can't be here, right? I want to have I want to have X amount of kids because if I have X amount of kids, I can have X amount of dollars without working for it. You know, I digress. Tap in with me, Allison. I'm gonna go to you, Queen. Allison, I'm gonna work my way down. Allison, tap in one time, Queen. Final thoughts.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it simple. What goes around really and truly does come around, and we have to stop we have to understand that accountability falls on both parties, men and women. And what one does, whether good, bad, or indifferent, it influences the other. So, and that's the foundation of an interdependent relationship. So, let's stop pointing fingers and just try to understand that we influence each other, like I said. And if, somebody can step up to the plate and be the leader, hopefully it will be a man, and then a woman would be able to follow suit accordingly.
Thank you for that, Allie. Thank you for that. Dat, one time on you, King.
Yeah. Appreciate everybody for the night, though. Dope
Watch the language.
conversation.
Watch the language, please. Watch the language.
Got you. Yeah. I heard this interview before, and I just can't wholeheartedly agree with what was stated because it's truly not factual. Like I put in the text, that's systematic propaganda that they're putting out there. How I feel about as far as Cosmopolitan, you got to think about it. Look at it. Like how many of our Black women in our community, from like grandma down or great grandma down, because we up there now, actually read Cosmopolitan magazine or had any part in following anything dealing with any writings from that community. They weren't spending money on the magazine, until a certain era. The 90s woman and all of that stuff now came about. So when they talk about certain things and certain aspects, it just doesn't fit because there was things that were going on long before that forced women to do things. So, but I can't agree with that, but great conversation for everybody. But yes, Cosmopolitan in that sense, this whole Kerry in those girls or whatever that show is called. Yes, that was the swing. Yes, that was the swing of
Sex in
this
the City.
social
It's called
media
Sex in the
era,
City.
the Instagram model type and Instagram woman type and all of that. I do believe that social media is the new Cosmopolitan in that regard.
Thank you for that, Dat. Thank you for that, King. Angel, would you be a sweet angel of ours?
I have to agree with that. I just, I've been here for the whole time. I categorically disagree with everything this woman said, because it just left out too many variables. And you touched upon it, Broadway. There was the women who wanted their man in their home. You know what I'm saying? But couldn't have him because no, we weren't getting fed enough. We were dependent on the system. It's just so many things that I could get into. We don't have the time, but I will say that I do believe social media is the new Cosmopolitan, but I totally and wholeheartedly disagree with the young lady's assessment about Black women. And I park.
Thank you for that, Angel. Thank you for that, Angel. Tap in with me, David.
Yeah, I do think social media is very influential, and I can see the comparison to Cosmopolitan and the influence it can have on our men and women and our society and current age. But I don't know, just like I think we gotta, as a community, we gotta just come together and be stronger than the media. I really think everything starts at home, the church, inside the family, and we could beat the media. I always hear these, you don't want to blame social media on your child's progression. Let's do better as a community to raise our kids and our community. The community is a village, and because there's a lot of negative images that we see in the media. So let's do our best to counteract that. And I land. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, David. Doc, one time on you, Mr. Beyonce, Taylor Swift.
Hey, my bad. I didn't mean to, interject like that. But no, to your question though, to the denigration of women, no, I don't think it's the denigration of women is what the agenda is truly about. Like, I'm prior military. I was a combat medic in the U.S. Army in Iraq. That's why everybody calls me Doc. But some gentleman that was in here was talking about how he looked to his elders to be able to understand his past and where he is. And I've talked to a lot of military guys, and you talk about like we used to paint pretty women on the side of bombers as we were flying over World War II, and that was a pinup girl, and that was social media. It was just a different form of it than because social media doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with the internet. that's a different medium. But the media has always been a part of like the Time magazine and the propaganda. And I don't think this, like I said, to the denigration of women, because men always held the standard of like the nuclear family in the 50s, and like 2.5 kids, picket fence, that whole thing. That was what America wanted as the idea. But as it progressed, the agenda became hijacking the liberation, turning it into propaganda, and in order to be able to divide the man from the woman, and in doing so, you make men weaker because you're pushing them down the line, and they're not learning how to be a man because the father's out of the home, and they think that to be a man is to act like a woman, and it is in certain ways, especially when you're talking about business. But there's other ways that men act to be men, and I think that's why we're ending up in a situation in society that we have now, is because we have separated the man from the woman from the household in the nuclear ideology of it, and divided it, and now it's just a money grab for everybody. And when you keep ourselves divided as a society, I think that's what's causing the contention within all the people that are trying to get some class. And with that, I'll land.
Thank you for that, Doc. I appreciate that final thought. Bougie, it's on you, Queen.
We'll make it short and sweet. I 100% co-sign with what Dat said. The replay that you played, the interview, was historically inaccurate. It absolutely does not acknowledge. It purports Cosmopolitan having a more consistent input on Black American and Black American culture than it actually had. The concept of womanism, the concept of sixth wave feminism, where we're at, of like seventh wave feminism, has absolutely been more historically accurate in allowing for the understanding of race and class to be included, and how those intersections impact the way families are structured. And we got to do better. We got to read more. We got to get the fuck off of YouTubeversary, open actual books.
Please watch the
and
language.
Have actual conversation. We have to get off of YouTubeversary and go in actual books, read, take classes with people who study these things and learn, and not trying to like parse information out for ourselves. But, I guess everybody got to start someplace. Hopefully we get to a place where we can all be free.
Thank you for that, Bougie. Final thoughts on Broadway. I have a few. The first final thought is, I think America is a marketing strategy. I think in most cases, what ends up happening is it's all a ploy, right? And whoever has the biggest microphone is the person that's heard the most. So forget what we were doing in our own families, in our own homes. Once the idea of televisions and radio and all these things came into play, we ended up having to yield our own thoughts and ideas to that of what was marketed to us, right? Like, no idea is original. That comes from somewhere, right? That's a phrase. That's a saying. That comes from somewhere. And when we're looking at when we're looking at YouTube, when we're looking at social media, when we're looking at Jenny Jones and Murray, or when we're looking at paternity court, when we listening to the radio, when we have these things, right? It's all being marketed to us, right? So it's almost to the point where, sometimes I don't like social media because I feel like a lot of the things that I had to read books and learn, it's just out there on social media, and people getting the cliff notes of it without getting the other part to it. And it's like, dag, how y'all get this, but y'all ain't get this? And I had to find these books, and I had to read certain encyclopedias to learn certain things when I was growing up, and whatever the case may be. So it's all marketing strategy, right? Marketing strategy. That yields me to that leads me to the point of the white picket fence in America, in land of the free, home of the brave. It's all cap. It's all cap. Respectfully, it's all cap. I don't believe none of it. right? And neither should you. If you're listening to me, neither should you, right? Because what ends up happening is yes, I do believe that Cosmopolitan played the role in influence our households. But I don't believe that's where the bus stops. I believe there was other People magazine, the what you call that? What's the other? It begins with an E, I think. Allison.
Esquire.
And all these other magazines. I believe it's not just Cosmopolitan. I believe that it's media. Period. And it plays a role on our household, and predominantly, right? If you're looking at back in those days, it was the woman, shout out to Trey that made the point. It was the woman that was held and stayed in the household to take care of the family. So because she was...
if you're going to be legit, though, you got to throw XXL in there, though.
Sure, if you will. Right? So these households were... This media, was alone in our house, was left alone in our house without significant others as being men. Right? And back in those days, women would take care of the house. Men would go make the money because of whatever social constructs was laid upon us and we had to deal with it, right? Now it's much different. But now we got Instagram. So they at work and they on Instagram and it's the same bottom line, but they just making their own money. But we'll get to that another podcast, another time, right? But what ends up happening is, yes, social media played a role. Cosmopolitan magazine played a role and was left in our households alone with our significant others. So yes, Cosmopolitan manipulated and told our women that we needed certain things, and then we came home and then the dollars that was led to the house, that was left for the household, was spent on things because, respectfully, no disrespect, but ladies, you guys are easy to market to. Hello? You guys are easy to market to. Buy the high heels. He's gonna find you sexy. Put on the red lip. He's gonna buy the LBD, the little black dress. Yeah, you're easy to market to, right? So when we're having a conversation about is Cosmopolitan, is social media the new Cosmopolitan, I would in fact say yes, it is, right? For the simple reason that men, we're traditionally logical thinkers. If we don't have it, we don't spend it. That's not through and through nowadays, but traditionally it was, right? So what Shorty was saying, what Sue Ellen Browder mentioned about, what was Shorty's name again? Helen Gurley Brown, and conflating feminism movement and the sexual revolution and mixing them two, and then putting it out there on Cosmopolitan and giving this false sense of hope when it was all cap. All these women had significant others, but they was promoting a narrative that was false, that was fake, that was cap, and it wasn't real. So because it wasn't real, women was buying into this narrative that wasn't that. Meg Thee Stallion, Hot Girl Summer, she had a man ever since I can think about Meg Thee Stallion. The same thing with the City Girls. It's all cap. But the media know that we can sell it to the women, we can sell it to the world. Live on Broadway podcast. Y'all know my vibe, y'all know my body. It was a pleasure to have you guys here with us tonight. Y'all know my vibe, man. Shout out to everybody that tapped in with us tonight. Shout out to the YouTube viewership. Tap in with us, Broadway the Giant on YouTube. Catch the podcast in the replays. Shout out to everybody that tapped in and led your point of views. Even if I don't particularly agree with it, there are people that will. And it's not about Broadway. It's about sharing the platform with people and distinguished gentlemen and ladies alike, like the Bougies and the Allisons and Dats and Docs. And I really love what you said, Doc, about Taylor Swift and Beyonce giving those dogs and who's going to pick what, because in the age of social media, it seems to be that they're going to pick who's ever popular. And it probably would be Beyonce, respectfully. You get what I mean? Live on Broadway podcast. Y'all know my vibe. Y'all know my body. It's cheaper to be yourself. Be giant. Pool. Clip.
Money coming, money going. Do you have relationship questions you need answered? spicy topics? DM us at Live on Broadway Podcast. Have music, products, or an ad you want us to run? Email us at Live on Broadway Podcast. Be sure to tap in. Mondays, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live on IM_Broadway's Instagram. Clear.